Too late. Those two words, delivered without emotion by the world's richest man, became the final blow for a woman who believed she had outplayed the system. But how did Lauren Sanchez go from celebrated billionaire bride to fugitive at the center of a $5 billion lawsuit in just 1 month? And why was Jeff Bezos preparing this downfall before the wedding even happened? Before we unpack the details of this investigation, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. What was meant to be one of the most extravagant weddings of the year has quickly turned into one of the most talked about scandals of the decade. Now that the excitement has faded and new legal filings are exposing troubling details, it's clear this was never the fairy tale romance it appeared to be. Yesterday, we looked into Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his billion-dollar divorce. But the latest reports force us to reconsider everything we thought we understood about this couple. Sources suggest that one of the driving factors behind this public breakdown was Bezos uncovering something so disturbing about Lauren's true intentions that it pushed him to execute one of the harshest retaliation plans ever seen among billionaires. Some might call it unbelievable, but after reviewing the documents, it's impossible to ignore. For me, this is about principle. It means facing criticism, taking heat, and risking backlash. But when the evidence is this undeniable, silence isn't an option. Now picture this. Lauren Sanchez, caught in the middle of a $5 billion divorce battle, tried to stop the unraveling with a few desperate emotional words. A woman known for controlling her public image with precision suddenly lost her composure, pleading with the man she believed she had deceived. Insiders reveal a striking account of those final moments. As her world collapsed at breakneck speed, Lauren did something entirely unfamiliar. She panicked. She made phone calls, sent texts, and even tried appearing at his office in person. Yet Jeff Bezos, the architect of the most powerful business empire on Earth, met her desperation with a cold and final response. Too late. There was no "let's talk," no "we can work this out." Just two words, delivered with finality, shutting down not only their marriage, but also her ambitions, strategies, and vision of life among the elite. The striking part is that those words weren't spoken in anger or frustration. They came with the same calculated detachment Bezos applies when closing down underperforming divisions of his company. No emotion, no hesitation, just business logic applied to personal matters. That's the atmosphere right now, arriving on the heels of a wedding that felt less like a ceremony and more like a lavish mix of luxury campaign and royal pageantry. Every element was meticulously staged, each photo refined for impact, every moment designed for maximum reach online. Yet despite all the grandeur, Bezos is ending it, executing the move with the kind of cold precision only someone with a $200 billion fortune could manage. The timing adds to the shock. Barely a month has passed since their extravagant Venice wedding, an event that dominated social media and stirred endless admiration and envy. Sanchez seemed the perfect bride, or at least that was the image presented. You'd think with Jeff Bezos, financial worries would be irrelevant, but ironically, it was money itself that became the stumbling block. Not scarcity, but the endless chances for leverage and control. What makes this even more unsettling is how easily the public embraced the fairy tale. Media outlets framed them as a power couple merging empires, but insiders insist the red flags were there from the start for those paying close attention. Jeff isn't impulsive, said a former Amazon executive who worked alongside him for years. If he makes a sudden personal move, it means he's been planning it for a long time. The man analyzes breakfast like a chess game 3 steps ahead. Now, attorneys are moving in rapidly, locking down assets with efficiency that even seasoned Wall Street lawyers find impressive. Reports suggest Lauren may be scrambling to stay ahead of the legal wave threatening to dismantle everything she built. She's retreating from the spotlight she once fought so hard to occupy. A career built on visibility has given way to sudden silence, And this legal battle is shaping up to be far more than a standard divorce. Insiders describe it as a deliberate, calculated effort designed not only to separate them but to dismantle her public standing entirely. "This isn't a divorce," said one legal expert familiar with the filings. "This is a digital erasure. Bezos isn't just removing her from his life, he's cutting off her future." The scope of the strategy raises questions about how long Bezos had been preparing for this. Was the entire relationship a long game, with Lauren unaware she was the target? The most striking part is the systematic approach. Every resource that could provide her independence has been frozen or contested. Every professional connection made during their marriage scrutinized. Even her online presence monitored by his legal team for possible breaches. "It feels like watching someone's life vanish in real time," another insider remarked. "Every opportunity Lauren once had because she was Mrs. Bezos is now closing. It's a sad reflection of society," says a former friend of Jeff, who, along with her ex-husband, was once part of the same circle. They attended parties together, traveled as families, and raised their children side by side. Then came the revelation. While Lauren was smiling at one friend, she was undermining another. This went beyond infidelity. It was a profound breach of trust. What makes it especially painful is that it destroyed not just a marriage, but long-standing friendships where people shared their most personal lives. "I don't respect that kind of behavior," the source continues, "but I can't feel sympathy either. At this level, if you play with fire, you should expect to get burned." The friendship factor intensifies the fallout. It wasn't simply about romance or wealth. It was about loyalty, trust, and the unspoken rules of an elite social circle. At the billionaire tier, betrayal carries consequences far beyond personal pain. It can dismantle entire networks of business built on trust. Friends familiar with all three describe it as a web of expectations and commitments that Lauren broke. These weren't casual ties, one insider explains. They were partnerships tied to billions in deals, philanthropy, and political influence. Once that trust collapsed, the damage spread everywhere. This wasn't an impulsive lapse or a heated mistake. According to those close to the situation, it was deliberate, executed with the precision of a strategy. And when Lauren finally realized the scale of the consequences, calling, texting, even pleading for another chance, Jeff's response was limited to two cutting words: "Too late." Those words reflected the discipline behind his empire. No emotions, no second chances, only final decisions. And what highlights his calculated approach is that he didn't immediately act. Sources claim Jeff allowed Lauren to cross several lines in violation of their prenup before responding. Like a chess player, he waited, recording every move, building a case impossible to challenge. He could have stopped this months before, notes a legal insider, but instead he documented everything until his position was unshakable. By the time he made his move, Lauren had no defense left. It's important to fully grasp this moment. The empire they once displayed so proudly is now beginning to fracture and collapse in front of millions. What's emerging through press leaks and court filings is far more complicated, chaotic, and unexpected than anyone imagined. But how did things unravel to this point? How did a relationship that looked flawless from the outside become both parties' greatest nightmare? And why does it seem as though Jeff Bezos had carefully planned each step long before Lauren realized what was happening? The answers lie in details only now coming to light, revealing a picture that is both intriguing and unsettling. What's most striking is the extent of Bezos's preparation. His planning involved multiple layers of backup strategies, anticipating nearly every action Lauren might take and setting up corresponding responses. As one former employee put it, it was as if he was playing multidimensional chess, while she believed they were simply dating. With Bezos, even his backup plans had backup plans. And if he could manage that level of foresight in business, why wouldn't he do the same in his marriage? Even before guests arrived in Venice, Before Lauren's $250,000 custom Valentino gown was revealed, before the $3,000 per plate dinner was served, and before paparazzi swarmed the event, Bezos had already drawn the lines for a future conflict. At the center of it all was the prenuptial agreement. This wasn't just a standard document dividing assets. It was a carefully constructed legal instrument. Consider the weight of a prenup crafted by Jeff Bezos and a team of top attorneys. The wedding itself was reportedly delayed specifically to finalize this agreement. Yet even those closest to the couple had no idea what was truly written inside. Most assumed that since they resided in Florida and were married in the state, the prenup required any future divorce to be filed there. But that was only a small part of it. Reports suggest the agreement included provisions that went far beyond: finances, behavioral expectations, rules for social media, and even conditions governing how Lauren could interact with business contacts she met through Jeff. One lawyer familiar with such high net worth cases noted that he's seen corporate acquisition contracts with fewer restrictions. In many ways, the document read less like a marital agreement and more like an employment contract for a CEO role. This agreement was designed to oversee nearly every part of her life that could affect his business empire. It wasn't just a typical prenup meant to safeguard wealth. It was a legally fortified, multi-clause contract crafted with the kind of precision Jeff Bezos brings to rocket launches, detailed and unyielding. Insiders claim that months before wedding plans were even finalized, Bezos had already gathered a team of top U.S. attorneys. They built a contract so strong and so carefully worded it resembled a financial stronghold, resistant to any challenge. But the true ingenuity wasn't just in protecting Bezos's wealth. It was in anticipating every possible scenario, every dispute, every potential decision Lauren might make, long before she did. Much like a chess game, Bezos was said to have thought 20 moves ahead. The prenup reportedly introduced what lawyers describe as behavioral triggers. These clauses outlined actions that could automatically strip Lauren of certain rights and benefits. Using the marriage for personal promotion, making media appearances without clearance, or even specific types of social media activity could activate penalties. This goes beyond money, a legal expert explained. It's about controlling narrative, public image, and personal connections. The document, in effect, gave Bezos the ability to push someone out of his social and financial circle entirely. What stunned many was that Lauren allegedly signed this heavily one-sided prenup just weeks before the wedding, under immense pressure. By then, invitations had been sent, elite guests had made arrangements, and the event was set to be one of the biggest ceremonies of the decade. As one attorney familiar with such situations put it, imagine being told days before the wedding to sign a 200-page contract without your own counsel or risk losing everything. It was an ultimatum, not a negotiation. She signed, and that decision became a lasting burden. According to sources, Lauren faced intense public scrutiny and professional obligations linked to the marriage, leaving her with little room to push back. Insiders suggest Bezos's legal team intentionally timed the signing before a high-profile media event, limiting her chance to fully consider the consequences. Now, that very contract, initially framed as a safeguard for their future, has become the mechanism allowing Bezos to cut Lauren off completely. Assets she might have anticipated, such as company shares, properties, or even alimony, are all unreachable. Each clause she signed, often without full clarity, now ensures she has little recourse to defend her position publicly or financially. And what makes this situation even harsher? A single clause that has now spread widely in legal circles, nicknamed the publicity trap, a strict media activity provision. It states that if Lauren attempts to leverage the marriage, her identity as Bezos's wife, or any related connection for personal endorsements, media appearances, ad contracts, or any public exposure without written approval, she could lose all rights to payments. This prenup has already been labeled the $5 billion boomerang, a clause Lauren agreed to herself, but one now circling back to threaten her entirely. The effect is especially damaging because nearly every step Lauren took to shape her public image during the marriage is now being used against her. Social media posts, press interviews, even business meetings are being cited by Bezos' legal team as proof of violation. She practically built her own legal coffin, one attorney observing the case remarked. Every Instagram upload, every red carpet photo, every networking event has become evidence of breach. The marriage certificate ink had barely dried when Jeff Bezos moved into the next phase of his strategy. Just days after their lavish Venetian wedding, a celebration so excessive that even the chandeliers reportedly came with non-disclosure agreements, he unleashed the legal maneuver that stunned the public. When I saw that invitation, one guest recalled, "I knew it was extraordinary, but no one suspected it was a trap laid in full view." The invitations themselves were extravagant, gold-trimmed, embossed with the couple's coat of arms, and printed on paper more expensive than most people's monthly salaries. Yet now, it's clear that every detail of this spectacle served more than one purpose. The wedding doubled as a documented record later used as evidence. Every photograph, every interaction, every moment was captured, not just for memories, but for legal use. Bezos effectively transformed his wedding into a corporate intelligence project. He had photographers tracking things unrelated to romance, said a source from the event team. They were logging conversations, noting interactions, and building a case file disguised as wedding coverage. Even the guest list was intentional. Each attendee could serve as a potential witness to Lauren's actions, words, or ambitions. What appeared to be a celebration was, in reality, a sophisticated evidence-gathering mission. Legal specialists reviewing the documents argue this goes far beyond a standard billionaire divorce. It is a calculated reputational takedown, carried out with precision. Bezos is not merely seeking the return of gifts or the division of assets. He is systematically stripping Lauren of anything that might secure her financial freedom or public influence. The most shocking element is how Lauren discovered this legal catastrophe. Not through her husband, not even from an attorney, but from a courier who delivered court papers while she was casually shopping in Malibu, believing her life was unfolding exactly as planned. Picture the moment. You're browsing for a luxury handbag, planning your next Instagram shoot, when suddenly a stranger delivers a folder of documents that shatter your entire life within seconds. The most unsettling part wasn't just the lawsuit itself, but the sheer strategy behind it. This wasn't one filing. It was a full-scale legal assault, a coordinated wave of court actions designed to crush her defenses. Multiple filings in different states, asset freezes, cease and desist letters to her partners. It was legal warfare carried out with near-military precision. They struck from every direction at once, noted one legal analyst. By the time she realized what was happening, the damage was already complete. When Lauren, stunned, tried to reach Jeff after the legal ambush, she was met with silence. Calls went unanswered, messages ignored. Even showing up at Amazon or Blue Origin offices ended with security blocking her entry. It was like watching her influence vanish in real time, a source explained. Business associates distanced themselves. Invitations stopped arriving. Friends no longer answered. Practically overnight, she was shut out from the very world she once belonged to, as one Hollywood insider put it. One day she's treated like billionaire royalty, the next she's irrelevant. That isolation wasn't accidental. It was planned. The phrase "too late" was not simply dismissal, but the final step in Bezos's carefully executed strategy. By the time she recognized the trap, every door was closed, every asset frozen, every legal option removed. Those two words sealed her defeat in a game she never even realized she was part of.